Hey, this is Steven from LegitTechTutorials and welcome back to Beginning Arduino. Today we're going to be talking about the code that we used for our first blink example, as well as how Breadboard works. So as I said in the previous video in the description, I would highly recommend that you check out my Beginning C tutorial series, as all of Arduino is based on C. So we are back in 123D circuits, and we just hit start a new breadboard circuit, and this is the page that you come up with from the start. And so what we're going to do is when you move around, hold your middle scroll wheel in, and then it'll allow you to pan around, and then you have the scroll wheel up and down will allow you to zoom. So go ahead and have it to where your breadboard's in the top, then click on the components, pull that up a little bit till you find your Arduino Uno, and then go ahead and place it in the scene and drag this down, but don't drag it all the way out. Then go ahead and left click and drag to where you could see everything in the screen at one time. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the code that we had for our blink, and here we have our code, right? So it's very Arduino is based on C, and we have two required methods that are needed to run an Arduino. Number one is the setup loop, and then the other one is the loop. So the setup basically allows us to set our pins and things like that. So in this case, we're setting one pin as an output, and that is pin number 13, and pin number 13 is right here. Pin number 13 also happens to be attached to that one LED. They're both attached to each other. So once you turn that high, it will turn on the LED. So let's go ahead and look at what causes this to work. So up here you see that we have an integer, and we call that in the identifier, the name that we give that is LED, and that is set to 13. 13 in this case is just an integer. But when we come down here to use it, so in the setup, basically the setup is once you send this code to your Arduino, and once it gets power, it does this setup first. So this is the prerequisite for the rest of your program, and once it sets up this setup, then it will go through the loop, and it will continue looping around forever until until it runs out of power, or until you tell it to stop, but it will never do that. So first thing that we do is we do pin mode. Basically what pin mode sets your pins as either a output or an input. An output is what you do to send current to something, and an input is something that you use to read something in. So for example, an output is what we would use for our LED, and an input is what we would use for a sensor. If we wanted to take input from the outside world, then we're going to use input, and if we wanted to send something to the outside world, we would say output. And you see here that this is a constant, what they call a constant, which is in all caps. Then you see that we send in our pin number 13 because we had an integer up top here, and that's LED. So now our pin is set as an output, so now we could use it as an output. Now we use a method called digital write, which is basically the method that allows us, okay, but now we're in the loop, so this is going to happen continuously, right? So we already did the setup, so we turned on our Arduino, it does the setup. Let me go ahead and just upload this real quick so you see what's going on. So now, of course, it blinks, right? We already know that. So the setup, what it does here is the loop is now it will write to this LED that it's high. So basically it will send, it will just turn it on, so it's just like a switch. You have either low, as you see here, or you have high as far as this digital. Digital is 0 or 1, so it's on or off. So it basically turns the LED on. When you say LED high, sets it to high, exactly what you say here. Turns the LED on. High is the voltage level. So there's either high or low. So high is on, low is off. Then it does a delay of 1,000, of an argument of 1,000. 1,000 is how many milliseconds do you want it to wait, and 1,000 milliseconds is 1 second, because milli is -3, is 10 to the -3. Okay, then we have digital write, the same LED, so that's the two arguments, of course, the what pin you want to write to, and what value do you want to write to it. So here we do it again. We have the LED, the pin 13, and we set it to low. So we turn the LED off. Then we wait another 1,000 milliseconds, or 1 second in this case, because 1,000 milliseconds is 1 second. So basically what it allows you to do is wait here before you go back in. So for example, let's see what happens if you probably wouldn't even see it. It would flip so fast, but let's modify. You could go ahead and mess around with this and see what exactly it would cause. But see, so now it's staying on longer and staying off not as long. And then I could make it even less. Okay, so it's not giving me really any confirmation, but I'm guessing that it is going to it. So let's make this like really small, like 50 milliseconds. And then you can play with this and see how much you could change it from the stock. So that is the basic of the Arduino loop. You have only two required methods that you need. The setup and the loop. The loop continues, just keeps going, it keeps flipping through continuously. And the setup is usually where you set the pin modes of all your pins that you're going to use. Alright, so that's a little bit about the code, and we're going to experiment with that on future tutorials here. Now I wanted to show you breadboards. So breadboards are really important. They're basically a prototyping platform that you could use to set up stuff very quickly. So let's say, for example, here, what I'm going to do is, you see here that this is where you have all your pinouts and inputs on your Arduino. And you see here that we have like a 3.3 volt out, a 5 volt out, ground, etc. And this is our power, and then we have analog in, and then we have digital and pulse width modularization. So we're going to mess around with pulse width modularization as well in this series. And that anything with pulse width modularization is the stuff with the little curly signs on it. So in this case 11, 10, and 9. On other Arduinos it has more, but on this one it only has 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to just set up this breadboard, not really messing with any pins, but just to get it to work, and then we'll mess with the pins in future tutorials. So first off, looking at your breadboard is very similar to this breadboard is very similar to ones in real life. You have these multiple rails here. So you have these ones, you have like this section here. You have this section that's like in this middle that has the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. That's the prototyping section. Then you have these rails here and up here. These are the power rails. So basically you're going to use one or the other. It doesn't really matter. What you do is first off you set your power. So you have a power, and in 1, 2, 3D circuit what you could do is just click, and then you see now I have a line, which is basically going to be a wire. Now I'm going to run this wire all the way to either my 3.3 volt or 5 volt, but I'm going to run it to my 5. So now we have power to this entire rail. So you have this middle section, and then you have these power rails. These power rails distribute power through the left. So now all of these holes that you see, all of these points that you could connect a jumper wire to, all have power from this side all the way to this side, even though I just plugged it in the middle. So now this whole thing is powered, but the rail above it is not. So now, as you could probably guess, we're going to take a line from this negative, you see positive and negative rail. Of course it doesn't really matter, you could have them flipped. The breadboard's not going to know. So then you could just flip it and go like this to here, to your ground, to either one, doesn't really matter, ground 2 or ground 3. So now this guy is grounded all the way across from from this side, from left to right, all the way across is grounded. So now let's go ahead and mess with a component and give it some power. Let's go ahead and do what we did previously, but with an LED. So I'm going to grab an LED, and I'm going to put it right here. So now I grab this LED and I put it right here. And as you notice, the LED has a little like weird leg. That also is present in real life because LEDs are diodes, light emitting diodes. So diodes are polarity dependent. So you have to send positive through this weird leg and have ground on the side of the straight leg. And you'll notice this in real life because the positive leg is longer than the negative leg. And in this case, it symbolizes that because it's got like a little crooked leg on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this guy from the power here. We could take any one of these dots. It doesn't really matter. Just so that you know, you could try it from all the way over here. And let's do this. And these rails, as you see with the green, the power goes vertically. So for example, I could plug it in here. Now you see here that these are all like this green, and if you go down here you see that all the green dots are all the way across. So that helps you see that the power is distributed here horizontally and here vertically. So now this power is present throughout this entire thing, and as you notice, the anode and the cathode, anode is positive, cathode is negative, is the anode is now getting that power from this vertical. So I could have put it down here, I could have put it right behind it, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I can't put it over here because these are separated in the middle. So these are, two separate prototyping areas, this side and this side. And of course there's larger breadboards, but this is the average size. Then all we need to do is go from our negative, so I'm going to go all the way from this side of my negative just to show you, to anywhere on the negative rail. Let's put it over here. Now when I go to code editor and I hit upload and run, you see my LED lights up. And the reason why it lights up is because the 5 volt on your Arduino is constantly feeding power no matter what sketch you're running. For example, you'll see that I could just delete all of this and upload and run, and it still lights up. So it's independent of anything that happens. Inside the code is that this 5 volt rail is always, as they say, hot. It's always giving power. So yeah, so here we have in review for the breadboard, these guys are connected horizontally, as you see with all these green dots. You could pick power from anywhere there, or in this case ground. Same exact thing with the positive, all the way across. You could pick any of those. Then what we could do is we could distribute power to anything here vertically. So we have our positive is the funky leg of the LED, and the negative is the straight leg of the LED. And here we're getting positive from here all the way to the side that is vertical to the funky leg. Anywhere on there will work. Then we have the negative goes to anywhere where the cathode is of the LED on that vertical side, and we have power. Alright, so this was a little introduction to get you guys started and get us started in the series as well to work on bigger things. So here we have our basic circuit, and you could definitely do this in real life. You'd probably want to have these closer, as you might not have a big enough jumper wires to do something like this. So, whatever. But you could do the exact same thing here. All you need to do is turn your Arduino on like you saw in our previous one. Just plug it into your computer, upload any sketch, and this will work. Just make sure that you have this on light. Make sure the on light's on your Arduino in real life, and then it should light that LED up. Of course, the other thing is that this LED, you don't really want to give it full power because it could burn out the LED. So in real life, I would skip this particular one. Don't do it in real life. do the next one in real life, as we're gonna be controlling the LED to make sure that it doesn't pull too much power by dropping some of the load over a resistor. Okay, so this has been Steven from LegitTechTutorials, and if you guys haven't checked out my C tutorial series, check that out now, because it's going to get a lot more in-depth as we go on, as the code gets longer and longer and more complicating. But or you can just follow along, whatever. The reference book is in the description. If you have any questions, email me, you guys, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial. I'd like to thank you for watching, and take it easy. Peace.